I bought 10 different salts from $1 off the shelf salt all the way up to salt that is over $250 per kilo or $120 per pound, and it's considered the most expensive salt in the world. All because I wanted to see what is the best salt to use for fermentation, and if it's worth spending ridiculous amounts of money just for the perfect ferment. But to compare these salts, I'll be making 10 different versions of the classic ferment sauerkraut. I'll be fermenting them all in the same conditions, with the only difference being the type of salt used. Then I'm going to taste test them with my friend Austin, and then rank them based off of how they taste, to see if more expensive really does mean more tasty. Before we get into the fermentation, let me introduce you to our salt lineup. This is table salt with MSG. This is a classic table salt in South Korea. It's a mixture of refined salt and MSG. Next up is Korean sea salt. This is my go-to salt for everything fermentation. It's cheap, free from any additives, and is 100% sea salt. Morton kosher salt. Kosher salt seems to be a very American product, but when I look into it, it's salt that has no additives and is usually no anti-caking agents, even though this brand has anti-caking agents listed on the box. Himalayan pink salt. This is the classic pink Himalayan rock salt from Pakistan. While mostly made up of sodium chloride, which is salt, it also contains trace amounts of minerals like iron, potassium, and magnesium. Malden flaky sea salt. This is a hand-harvested sea salt from the UK town of Malden. It's my go-to salt for cooking and finishing because of how light and easy it is to use. Malden salt also tends to have this pyramid shape to their crystals. Next is Malden smoked flaky sea salt. This is from the same company. This is their classic flaky sea salt that is smoked over oak to impart a light, smoky flavor to the salt. Fleur de sel sea salt. Another famous European brand of sea salt from France. This is a high-end finishing sea salt, only really used to garnish food once cooked, and not used in cooking itself. Kombu salt. This salt has been roasted to over 1,000 degrees Celsius and then infused with ground kombu to make a salt that has a higher mineral content, and considering MSG is derived from kombu, it would basically be like a natural MSG. One-time roasted bamboo salt. This is Korean sea salt that has been packed into bamboo shoots and then baked to over 1,000 degrees. This version of bamboo salt has only been roasted 1 or 2 times, making it one of the cheaper bamboo salts you can buy in Korea. 9 times roasted bamboo salt. This is considered the most expensive salt in the world. This is the same as the Korean sea salt, but it's been baked in bamboo shoots to over 1,000 degrees Celsius, and this has gone through that process 9 times, which takes weeks, and the process of bamboo roasting imparts a sulfurous aroma and makes the salt more savory and more umami. Now, in order to test all of these salts, I'll be making quite possibly the simplest ferment possible, sauerkraut, which is only salt and cabbage. I won't be adding any other seasonings to these ferments in order to not interfere with the flavor of the salt. However, going into this, I do have a few predictions. For the cheap table salt that is a mix of MSG and salt, I suspect it will taste pretty similar to natural Korean sea salt, maybe with a little bit more flavor because of that MSG. Now, I've never fermented with kosher salt or Himalayan rock salt, however, I suspect it will be almost identical to the Korean sea salt in flavor. Same goes for fleur de sel and Malden salt, however the smoked Malden salt will of course taste smoky. Whether that will taste good, we will have to see. The kombu salt is something I'm seeing for the first time, and giving it a little taste, it is of course salty, but it also seems to go a little deeper, hitting those umami parts of the tongue, so it'll be interesting to see how that translates into kraut. Now, the bamboo salts do have a unique smell and taste to them, being a little sulfurous, which I imagine will impart some interesting flavors to the kraut. Whether it's pleasant or not, we will have to see. What I do know is that there is a famous jang maker here in Korea who uses bamboo salt to make her soy sauce and Korean soybean paste, and it is delicious. Now, in order to make as even of a test as possible, I'm going to be taking a whole cabbage, removing a few of the most outer leaves, and then slicing it super thin on a mandolin slicer. I'll be keeping the shreds pretty thin, and I'll keep slicing until I reach the core of the cabbage. Once I'm done slicing the cabbage, I'll set it aside for a second while I make 10 little vacuum seal bags to ferment the sauerkrauts in. Now, I know some people are against using plastic for fermentation. I am not one of those people. Using vacuum seal bags drastically reduces the chances of things going moldy. I find it's cleaner and it takes up less space, and I would actually say it's safer since there's no glass to potentially explode from gas buildup. But enough on that. Once I had made 10 little vacuum seal bags, I went back to the cabbage and weighed out how much I managed to shred, and to my surprise, it was pretty much dead on 1.5 kilograms, which when divided by 10 is of course 150 grams. So I evenly divided up 150 grams of cabbage into each bag. Then using my drug dealer scale, I measured out 2% of each salt to add to each bag, and of course labeled each bag accordingly. 2% salt is near the minimum for lacto fermentation, and to calculate it, I just multiplied 150 grams, which is the cabbage weight, by 0.02 to get me 3 grams of each salt that I need to add to each bag. I try to give each bag a little shake up to spread the salt out, and then I took them all over to the vacuum sealer and then sealed them shut. I also gave each bag a nice little massage to get some of that salt moved around. I'm gonna keep these all in the same conditions, and I figured the best way to do that is to keep all of the bags in this hotel pan together. As long as they're all in this hotel pan together, they're pretty much all in the same temperature, making this a pretty fair test, I guess. I did decide to set my fermentation chamber to about 25 degrees Celsius and then put the sauerkrauts in there just to help kickstart a little fermentation. For the first few days, I took these out every day to massage them and give them a little shake, and even just after the first day in the fermentation chamber, the bags have blown up a little bit, meaning fermentation has occurred, which is a relief. And what's more of a relief is that every single bag had blown up a little bit, meaning fermentation had occurred in all of the different salts. Now a few more days later and the bags have puffed up quite a bit more, and I'll keep shaking them to redistribute the salt. So in the end, I let these ferment in the bags for what feels like about a month. Now they weren't in the fermenter the entire time, as other projects needed to go in there at higher temperatures, but all the bags have been kept together in that hotel pan the entire time. Now I've decided it's time to taste test these, and to be honest, sitting here alone tasting 10 different sauerkrauts trying to decide which one is the best doesn't really sound very easy or very fun. So I packed up the sauerkrauts and I drove 2 hours north to Daejeon to meet up with my friend Austin so we could sit down together and taste all of these sauerkrauts and decide together which one was the most worth it. So I'm in Daejeon now, I'm with Austin on his rooftop. I've brought all of my different sauerkrauts here to get his opinion, and I guess I don't want to rank it,
okay,
but maybe
I don't like
at the end,
either.
like we'll just kind of pick out our favorite.
Sure. You basically made this with all kinds of different salts, right?
Yeah.
So you're fermenting the sauerkraut, and this is just to determine what is the best salt to make?
I want to say more of if it's worth, if some of these salts are worth it. All of these batches, these all came from one single cabbage.
Yeah.
So I've kept everything in this container the entire time.
Yeah.
Even though this container has kind of been around the studio a bit.
Sure.
Like in
but
the
they're
fermenter,
all the
like,
same temperature, same everything.
Yeah, they've all been kept in the same conditions. These were vacuum sealed, and now they're all kind of like got air in them, so they have all fermented, which is a big relief for me. It means everything is sort of like a sauerkraut. So we're gonna try Korean sea salt first.
All right.
It smells really good. It's a good sauerkraut.
Smells
I'm
like
happy
my
with
childhood, man. All right, you want me to try first?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you pick out first, and then we'll go for it together.
This seriously smells like the sauerkraut I ate growing up.
Charlie, sorry.
Quite sweet.
Oh yeah, it's got the cabbage sweetness still.
It's sweeter than I expected.
It's like balanced.
That's our baseline. Oh, it's hitting the sour parts of the mouth. Let's just get kosher salt out the way. 'Cause,
Alright.
I mean, you guys are most familiar with kosher salt.
Sure.
This is my first time ever using kosher salt.
To make sauerkraut.
No, just
Or
in
ever.
general, ever.
How did you get it?
I had to order it. It came from, you know how like Coupang, you can order
Yeah.
from America?
Yeah.
It came
Rocket
from America. So this is Morton's,
Okay, Morton's is the kosher salt.
right?
Wow.
Not as sour.
Not near. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It's almost like not
Smooth.
really fermented very much. Like what I mean is it's not sour at all.
Yeah. I would say it tastes very similar, but it's not sour.
Yes. That's so interesting.
Nowhere near as sour.
It's so interesting. It's a huge difference actually.
What I'm wondering what's happened there is maybe the Morton ceased the kosher salt because it's basically kind of like factory made, right?
Exactly.
There's no extra nutrients
Yeah.
or minerals in there. So I'm wondering if the minerals and nutrients from the sea salt is helping the
That
fermentation.
could be. It's almost like there's nothing wild or
Yeah.
in it. You know, it's
Okay, so we'll do
That's good.
French sea salt, fleur de sel.
fleur de sel.
This one is probably the most expensive sea salt I bought.
Really?
Just
so this
sea
is
salt,
the
yeah.
price one of
This
the
is-
sea salt.
This is purely a finishing salt.
Okay.
So they never use this for cooking. This is only for garnishing at the end.
It smells stronger.
This is right in between Morton and
Interesting.
Korean sea salt.
There's some kind of like lighter delicateness to this one though. Beyond just the sour level. You're right, it's like between the two, but it almost tastes like softer to me.
Still quite sweet.
Yeah, it's not super sour, but it's like got this softness to it.
So this is Malden salt,
Okay.
which is English sea salt. This is like the classic flaky salt that you get in the green tub.
I love Malden's.
This is my go-to salt for cooking, but it's not my go-to salt for fermentation.
Okay.
So you grab a big bite.
Ooh, cheers.
Cheers. This is more bitter.
Yeah.
A bit more bitter.
Man, this is really interesting. The first one we tried was the most sour, and even that one I thought was not very sour. And they, to me, they keep getting softer, but you do get that bitterness at the end too.
But this one seems less sweet and more bitter.
Yeah.
So next is Himalayan pink salt.
Oh,
Which-
interesting.
I have probably used Himalayan pink salt less than 2 or 3 times in my life. I just don't. It's not something.
Dude.
Not something I use.
Smell that though.
Ooh.
It smells
Smells
like,
like gim.
Nuruk or yeah, gim. It smells so different.
It smells like dried seaweed.
Like umami smell. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
fishiness. But
The only way to describe it is like in Korean, goso.
Yeah.
Nutty.
oh, interesting. That is crazy. That one.
Okay, not as sour.
Wow.
Nuttier.
There's more complexity coming in at the end. It's still going.
Smooth as well. Less sour.
Mm.
Also, like it's like fruity.
Yeah, see, this one almost tastes like wine or something to me, like a good wine, because the longer I let it sit on my palate, like more flavors come.
Like
And
the
at
more
the-
you, yeah.
At the very end, you get this rush of saltiness.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it's this fruitiness. That one's, of all of them, that one's like the most unique
So
for
far,
sure. Yeah.
Let's do MSG salt.
Oh, okay.
In Korea, this is called matsogum, which is
Matsogum,
like
baby.
tasty salt.
Yeah.
But it's basically just MSG and
Mixed
salt.
with salt, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you do pure MSG or would it not?
Um,
process correctly?
I'm not sure because it's just
don't know
like
the
because it's not a salt.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wonder.
Cheers.
I'm getting the MSG at the end, where it becomes not salty to me. It becomes like that savoriness.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan, to be honest.
Not that it tastes bad. It's just
Yeah.
not great.
Exactly.
Like okay.
It just doesn't taste like real
Yeah.
sauerkraut or something.
I feel like these are from now on are gonna taste. They're gonna have different tastes.
Okay.
This is smoked Malden salt,
Interesting.
so it's the same as that English sea salt, except they've smoked it
Interesting.
over oak, and very lightly smoked.
Wow.
And-
Smoked sea salt.
Not much coming off of
Not much smell.
that. You go first.
I feel like I'm part of history here. This might be the most comprehensive sauerkraut tasting.
I don't think anyone's done this.
Nobody's done this.
Well, because I don't know if there's anywhere other than Korea that you can get so many different types of salt,
Yeah.
especially the most expensive salt in the world, which is that Korean salt. Cheers. I'm not getting smoky.
Nope. I feel like the fermentation killed the smokiness. Although I'm realizing a lot of the uniqueness comes about 6 to 10 seconds after you eat it. Because I just got a little smokiness in the back of my tongue, but it really does kill the smokiness.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that just the Korean sea salt has just been, so far, to me, it's the best one.
The first one is fantastic. I liked
Yeah.
that Himalayan pink salt. That's been my favorite.
Okay, so now we got kombu salt. So when I bought this, I'd never seen this before. This is salt that's been roasted to over 1,000 degrees Celsius,
Wow.
ground up, and then mixed with dried kombu.
Interesting.
Basically like natural MSG,
Sure.
because MSG is derived from
Yeah.
kombu. You go first?
That one's super light. I could eat that as a side dish plain with nothing. You know what I mean? Because it's not powerful.
This one's quite good as well.
Yeah, they're all good. They're all pretty
Not
good.
super sour. Next up is
Bamboo
one-time
salt,
roasted
baby.
bamboo salt. I guess this one's fermented quite a bit.
More air.
We're on the last two now. And the last two are both bamboo salts.
Interesting.
One is the
This
single
is
roasted.
the salt that they roast inside of a bamboo
Yeah.
bamboo wood. Where did you get this? This is from Korea?
Yeah.
Down in Danang?
I bought it online,
Okay.
but bamboo salt is like exclusively
Yeah.
Korean.
I see.
They pack sea salt, Shinan sea salt.
Yeah.
They pack it into bamboo shoots and then roast them
it.
at over 1,000 degrees.
That's awesome.
Salty to me.
This one's going back to a bit more sour for me.
Yeah. The difference between all of these is very, very subtle, which is surprising to me.
We may need to get someone with like golden tongue in.
Yeah. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest, I can't tell a difference between many of them.
The only one I could really tell the difference is the Korean sea salt.
For me, the Korean sea salt one has been different than all the rest.
Yeah.
And the Himalayan pink sea salt.
Yeah.
If you put it on the plate and you didn't tell me, it would be hard for me to
Yeah,
distinguish.
right. This is the final one. This is the most expensive salt in the world. This is 9 times roasted bamboo salt. I bought a tiny little jar of this big, and it cost me 30,000 won.
Wow.
It was like $25. To buy a kilogram of this salt is over like $250 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
This hear what you're gonna say.
You know, I can be honest here, right? I don't think the price of the salt matters when it comes to fermentation.
Yeah.
That's my personal feeling. After doing this, for me, the best tasting one is the Korean sea salt one. And it tastes different than all the other.
And that's like the cheapest one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that one. I'm wondering like if maybe that was the first one we tasted.
So it was just like.
So our
I don't-
palate
I
was so.
agree with you on that one.
Okay, let's try.
Let's
Let's
go
go
back
back to
again.
this.
Wow. It's almost as if like the Korean sea salt was built for
Fermentation.
fermentation. There must be some kind of wild.
No, that's so good. That's addictive.
It's amazing. But like you said, I wonder if it's something to do with the naturalness of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you roast that sea salt, I'm sure
Yeah.
that kills any kind of bacteria. It probably tastes amazing when you're grilling with it or eating meat with it, but fermentation wise, that's
Mhm.
the best.
I will say, this one also comes in like the classic Korean, like super chunky
Yeah.
salt. I don't know if that makes a difference, but
I
which
want to
one?
do the Himalayan. This one to me was my favorite originally. And now I'm also wondering.
Pink Himalayan?
So,
Yeah.
see, that one's my favorite. These two. And I'm also wondering if maybe this is also kind of a more natural salt too. So a lot of the other salts were either cooked or processed or smoked or
True. This
you know
is
what
just
I mean?
mined, that's it.
Yeah, and this is mine, and then the Korean sea salt also just
Malden, I think, is like cooked to evaporate it.
yeah.
Korean sea salt, I think, is mostly just left out in the sun
It
to
is
dry, right?
It is.
Yeah,
Right?
sun
We've been
dry.
there.
The same with fleur de sel, as far as I
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
It's the same as the Korean process where they kind of just let it dry out in the sun.
Yeah.
So these three are the only ones that are really completely unprocessed. No, it's really insightful. Like, even
Yeah, it
though
is.
it was very anti-climactic, it was still pretty interesting because I really thought
Yeah.
the bamboo salt would be so different.
I think that makes it more interesting. The fact that you spent, you bought this very expensive salt,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it's the Korean sea salt, the most basic one that we liked the most.
Which is the one that they use for all the fermenting. anyway.
Yeah, they use it for kimchi and everything.
Have this?
I guess that's the end of this like whole salt experiment thing. Did not go as I expected, but you know what? It's always a nice surprise.
Yeah.
I want to thank Austin for tasting with me. And behind the camera was also Austin's wife, Courtney, who was also tasting. General consensus is that the Korean sea salt is just the way to go. And that was also the cheapest salt out of all of them. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any more ideas for salt as well, or any of these salts, leave them down in the comments below and probably try and do them for a future video.
Nice.
But until the next one, peace.